Foster care and adoption out of foster care was always a priority for us. It came up on probably one of our first dates.
March is when we got our first placement. She texts my phone and I see, and it's like 2 boys, need a decision now, are we in? Sure. And so that was the all right, now it's real. And it was like, I get off the call, it's like, just, it started sinking in of like, oh my gosh, like we're doing it. Human beings are coming to our house. We're going to have our first placement. It's going to be super exciting.
Well, I think there's physical preparation and emotional and mental preparation. And the physical preparation, as soon as we said yes and got word that the boys would be coming, you run to Target and you buy everything that you can think of. You don't know what size the kids are, what diapers they're in. So I think I probably bought 4 or 5 of everything in a range of sizes. But like Andy spoke to, I think it was more of a wave of emotion and realization of, oh my gosh, we're becoming parents in some sense. Overnight, this is our first real experience with, taking care of children. I think we were fortunate and also sort of thrown in. We touched so many sides of the foster care system that we didn't know that we would, starting with a surprise newborn sibling. Our oldest at the time was 3 and was coming home from visits with his mom talking about the baby in mommy's belly, and it was a little baby girl named Brienne. So we called the social worker and she confirmed that yes, mom was about 7.5 months pregnant at the time, which quickly launched into a conversation of, if this baby comes into care, of course we want to keep siblings together. Are you open to taking the placement? There was certainly conversation between us and, can we handle this? We're brand new overnight parents to 2 toddlers, and is it fair to the kids to bring in an infant when their lives have just been turned upside down? But I think ultimately we decided keeping the siblings together was more important than anything else. We switched over a room in our house, we updated our license, and got ready for a baby girl. And shortly after, got a call that the boys had a healthy baby brother. As is the case with foster care, you just roll with it, and went to pick him up at the hospital, fell in love immediately, and worked on slowly changing out those girl clothes for boy clothes. We did work really hard at shared parenting, specifically with mom. And it was a bit of a roller coaster. She made some strides towards reunification, and then she would fall off. And throughout the case, we tried to support her in her reunification efforts and share strategies and therapy tactics and all of those things that we were going through on our end with the kids. Eventually, our case did turn and the goal changed to adoption. And there's a lot of emotions that come with that. I think foster care is an exercise in being human. That mix and conflict of emotions is there pretty much every step of the way. When termination happens, you're so thrilled for the family that you're about to build, but there is mourning the loss of the family that was. Same thing with some of that shared parenting. At some point, what is best for the children doesn't feel like reunification anymore, and there's sadness in that, but there's also joy in, being able to confirm we are going to provide this safe, loving home for these children for the rest of their lives. We had a lot of other snags along the way. We had a judge retire at one point throughout the case, so we got a new judge who kind of put things on hold for an additional 6 months right when the goal was changing. We cycled through a couple different social workers, and who were all great, but we loved the social worker that took us to the finish line. After the TPR trial, we did go through an appeal of TPR, so termination of parental rights, so that delayed our case for about a year. Every step felt like a very tiny win, but they weren't coming quickly enough for me. Once that plan was changed to adoption and everybody involved with the case, kind of had the buy-in, this is the best plan for the kids, then you just want it to happen as soon as possible. So then, the plan has to get changed by the judge, and then TPR has to get filed, and then you have to wait for the TPR hearing, and then the appeal comes, and you have to wait for the case to be heard, and all of these little steps. And every time they go your way, it feels like a small win, but it was very much hurry up and wait. So when it finally happened, we got a phone call on a Monday morning that congratulations, your adoption is official. The adoption decrees have been stamped by the judge. It was almost surreal. It was like we've been fighting and hoping for so long, and it's just over. It's like this big relief and amazing joy, but you almost don't believe it. The most exciting was when the kids came home from school and we got to tell them. So we had actually already ordered our Team Tessina jerseys, and the kids knew what they were for. They had seen them and they were excited about them, and they knew that once your adoption is official, we'll have a big party to celebrate and we'll get to wear our jerseys. So the way we told them was we laid all the jerseys out on the table for when they came home from school. And we said, well, if it's okay to wear your jerseys, what do you think that means? And they all went, it's time for our party. So we had to back them up a little bit and say, well, if it's time for your party, what do you think is official? And in the cutest way, they went, our adoption? And we got to tell them, yes, officially today, you're adopted. We were lucky enough to have over 100 people join us to celebrate the boys' adoption. I was just so incredibly touched to see how many family, friends, neighbors, teachers, classmates, social workers, just everybody in these boys' lives were just beyond happy for us and so excited to come celebrate that the adoption was official and we were officially a family. The outpouring of love and support was just incredible.
I think that has been a common theme that was really like one of my misconceptions about foster care, thinking about how much that you'll have to do alone, but we've been met with incredible support the entire way. And I think that's, if you're worried about a lack of resources or a lack of support, I think it's important to realize that, there are teachers and your placement specialists and you can rely on family members, and there's tons of just people within your community that are so invested in seeing these kids succeed. Maybe when they watch the videos and see the pictures later on when they're a little bit older, it'll be like, wow, this really was this huge outpouring of support, and it was all for us. And hopefully that makes them feel really good. And so they, know that they do belong and that they are special and that they are wonderful. It's the best decision I've ever made. And I'll say that over and again, that, she brought it into our relationship and really opened my eyes to it. It wasn't something that I had, before we began a relationship, it wasn't something that I'd wanted to do since I was, super young, of like build out a family this way. I think I was like a lot of people that you're just not super familiar with it. You don't know the ins and outs of it. And when you realize what it entails, it's an amazing opportunity. And everything about it, like, it has been challenging, but the reward for what it's been has been, it's the easiest, best investment that I've ever made. And I would, make the same decision over and over again.
Growing a family through foster care and adoption has always been a priority for me. And I could not have imagined the profound impact it had on my life. I couldn't fathom it if I tried, even though it was something I've always wanted to do. To see them just thrive as soon as they're put in an environment where they're given the opportunity to do that, not only are they making these strides and accomplishments, but they're overcoming so much of the trauma that is invisible. So having an understanding of that background and then still watching them be able to do this is just beyond rewarding.
Kids they're amazing and they're resilient, and to be able to take kids in this situation where they need someone to come in, to step in, to say, I'm gonna put you first, I'm gonna give you what you need, I am here for you unconditionally. These kids need that so much, and to be able to do that and then to watch in real time how that changes their trajectory, to see the progress that they make and how just remarkable and brilliant and compassionate and hilarious, and just to watch them develop is the greatest feeling in the world.